the NBA has to watch out for, the NFL has to watch out for, is you're like making the leagues really young. So like, yeah, I get that the player technically is hitting these metrics of how like what that allows him to be in the league and stuff like that, and but it's more of like an age demographic thing as far as like viewership, and like it's one thing that you want to really like look out for, because you might be having a disconnect between the audiences that you're trying to reach, the demographics that you're trying to reach, when they're looking at the players that they like. Let's say they're 19 or they're 21, and now I have a fan that I'm trying to reach who's 44, and they're watching this like 19 or 21 year old, where they're the 44-year-old fan might have this disconnect between watching someone who's 19 years old and stuff like that. Okay, you can sprinkle it in here or there, but when it's this overabundance and when it's the norm, when I have a championship team where the oldest player was 31 years old, the oldest player was 31 years old, not the median age of the team. The oldest player was 31 years old. Okay, that might be difficult because the 31-year-old is going to have more relatability to the 44-year-old fan compared to maybe the 19-year-old on the team, the 20-year-old on the team. This 19 to 22 that makes up the majority of like NBA rosters, 19 to 23, 19 to 24. Okay, well, when I have older fan bases and older demographics, 44-year-old guy might not relate to that 19 to 22 age people on the NBA roster. So that's one thing they might have to look out for. If you look at the UFC and the main age ranges that they work with, this is what they're going for. They're going for like 28 to 35 for the most part. They'll sprinkle in some younger players, competitors every once in a while, but for the most part, the ages you're seeing on UFC, they have this real relatability. They're hitting certain things for certain demographics that are working for them, which is you got fighters, competitors that are 28 years old, 32 years old, 31 years old, 33 years old, 34 years old, 35 years old, okay? This is who they're relying to. This is our big main event type of person. Yeah, give it to the fucking 35-year-old guy, give it to the 31-year-old guy, the 33-year-old guy, the 29-year-old guy. Okay, a lot of the age ranges that they're kind of working with are there, and that's working well for their sponsors. So yeah, some of these players might like technically be able to get into the league, break into the league based upon skill and talent and ability to play basketball. They're fast enough and they're good enough at the three-point shot and playing basketball to technically get into the league, right? Yeah, but you might be missing, be creating a disconnect between certain aspects of your fan bases that are looking to have more relatability of like who's playing and like who am I, what age am I, and am I able to relate to the player.